Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest video on installing NetBeans 11.3, and we'll look at whether it's something that you should install or not. Just because it's the latest version does not necessarily mean that you should install it. Okay, it's been out, 11.3 has been out for about a month now, and I've been using it for about a month. Let's have a look at what's involved and what's new. First of all, you need to go to the netbeans.apache.org site. There. Okay. So netbeans.apache.org. And you'll get the site. If you just click on download, you come to the download page. The one we're looking at is update 3, and this was released, as you can see, on the 24th of February, which is about a month ago. If you are developing and you need a stable long-term support environment, then you need to remain on version 11 LTS, because although that was released about a year ago, it is the long-term support environment and will be better for a stable development platform. Okay, so let's have a look at 11.3, because that's why we're here. So if you click on download, you're taken to this page where you can select what you want to download. Now, I'm actually on a Linux machine, but it's very similar for Windows, Linux or Mac. You can use the same one. If you're on a Windows machine, select the first one, a Linux machine, select the second one, and a Apple Mac machine, select the third one. I shall click on that, and we are given a list of mirrors. So you just click on the mirror, which it suggests at the top, and I'm not actually going to open it with anything. I'm going to save the file, and this will automatically come down into my downloads folder. This should happen exactly the same on Windows and the Apple Mac. As you can see, I haven't done this in advance. This is a clean version of Linux. It's Linux Mint. It's a clean version. There's basically been nothing installed on it, and I've only really just changed some of the preferences on the Firefox browser. That's all I've done. Everything else is as it is installed and then updated after that. Okay, so it's now completed the download, so we don't really need this anymore, but I shall just minimize it. Which is very good. Okay, right, the next thing you need to do is you need to check whether or not you've got a JDK installed or a Java installed. Now, on Windows, you'll need to go into File Manager and go in using File Manager to search for a Java. So just search for Java, and that will tell you, if it finds it, it will tell you whether it's installed or not. In Apple and in Linux, it's a bit easier because you can just open Terminal and you can just type in which Java. And if you get a result, and it will actually come up with the path to it. If it's not installed, you will just get the command prompt. The next one is really to check which Java you've actually got in. So type in Java space 2 hyphens and then version, and this will tell you what we've got. And as you can see, we've got OpenJDK 11 with the runtime and the server. So that's fine. We need the OpenJDK, and it does need to be greater than version 8, so 9 and above. 11 is good, and it will accept up to version 14 if you want to download that from the OpenJDK site. Now, you can also install it from the software manager by doing OpenJDK and searching for that. This will take a moment. I'm on a virtual machine, so it will take a moment or two while it finds it, and you'll see there's a number of it. On mine, you can see the JRE, the runtime, is actually installed, and to install the JDK package as well, you would just double click on that and then click on install. Okay, so it says it's not installed, so if we click on install, it will take a moment or two and it will come down and tell us it needs some packages. And away we go. As I say, on Windows it's much easier because basically you download the zip file, which you can do while that's happening. You can come into jdk.java.net/14 and you can just download the zip file from here and unzip it, okay, and install it, okay, and that's very easy for Windows. Right, okay, where were we? Come back to here. It's still installing, which will take a moment or two to do. It's not actually 100% necessary because I've got the JRE in. What we'll do is we'll wait for this to install and then we'll come back. Okay, so that's OpenJDK 11, the JDK installed, so we'll close that window. Now, if you want to use all the features of 11.3, then you should have JDK 14 on your system. As long as you can actually point NetBeans 11.3 at the JDK, then that's fine. It'll be quite happy at doing that, and you can do that, and I'll show you how to do that a bit later on. Okay, so now that's installed, we can now install the 11.3. So if we go to downloads, and we'll just check that we can run this. So we need to change the permissions on that so that we can run it. Permissions. So execute. Okay. And close. So we now have execute. So right. Okay. So we now have execute permissions. So double click and it will say run in terminal. So I would suggest you do that. Okay, because if there are any errors, then it'll actually show up in the terminal. Now what will happen is you'll get the installer wizard. It's very similar on Windows and Mac. It's basically just an installer which will put this in. So you can actually customize what you want to come in. Okay, so Java, HTML, PHP. If you want to customize, you can click the customize, and as you can see, it's bringing in all the different packs, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so next you have the license agreement, so accept that and next. Okay, it's going to ask where you want things to be installed, so yes, this is, I'm quite happy for that, and it's found the JDK in the user folder, which is good. If it can't find it, you can browse for it, and remember, you can actually search. If you don't know where it is, you can actually do which Java in terminal, and that will tell you where it is. So click on next. Okay, so check for updates, always a good idea. So click on install, and then this will actually go ahead and install it. I'll come back when it's finished. Right, okay, that's finished installing. It took about 5 minutes on my machine. This is a virtual machine running just one single processor, I think. Might be two processors. So it's not actually a very powerful machine, so yours may well be quicker. So click on finish, and that's it. It's now installed. Okay, so we'll just minimize that, and we'll minimize that. And as you can see, it's placed an icon on the desktop which you can double click and it will open for the first time. Now the first time this runs, it will take a few minutes. It will search to see if you have a copy of NetBeans already on the system, and if you do have one, which I do not, it will ask if you want to import the settings from that version of NetBeans, and it's something you will probably want to do, so I recommend that you do it if at all. Now, as I say, I don't have, this is a completely clean virtual machine, so I don't have that on my system, and so I don't have that option. Okay, when it first starts, virtually none of the modules are activated, and you actually have to activate them yourselves. So when you actually look at the start page, you'll see that there's very little that you can actually do. You've got a new project, that type of thing. When you click on a new project and you decide what type of project it's going to be, it will activate the modules for you in that. So here we are, we're looking at the various different projects. So if, for example, I click on PHP and I decide it's to be a PHP application, it will activate it. It actually tells you here, okay, this feature is not yet enabled. Click next to activate it. And it's the same with all the others, okay? You actually have to activate them, and what this does is it just makes NetBeans much quicker to start up, because only the features, only the modules that you want are activated. You do have a second option in activating it by coming up into Tools, and when you look at the tools, you'll see that there's very little in Tools, and coming to Options, and this takes a moment because it's looking at which options are available, and then you can actually activate them by clicking on Java or HTML, and you'll notice there's no C. There's PHP, Java and HTML. If you want C, you have to actually install that separately, because although C and C++ have been gifted to Apache, they are not on this version, because it's actually a very big project to integrate it into this version. So you have to actually use the old 8.2 version, and we'll look at that in a few minutes as well. For example, if I want PHP, which is what I tend to use most, but a lot of people use NetBeans for Java, you'll see it's automatically activating it. Okay, as soon as you click on it, it automatically starts to activate it. And I've now, if I click on Tools again, come to Options, again it's checking to see what's what, so it takes a moment. You'll see I've now got a PHP module activated. You'll notice I've got no PHP interpreter because I don't have PHP on this machine. This is a clean machine. It doesn't have PHP, it doesn't have any Apache server, it doesn't have anything on it. Okay, it's absolutely clean, so you can actually browse for it or search for it if you wish. Okay, and install it. Search. Okay, so that's how you would actually activate it and so on. So I shall just cancel out of that. Okay, now if you want, you'll notice that now we have more items available in the tools. If we come to plugins, okay, you can also activate things through the plugins. Now the first thing you can do is check for updates. We've just checked for updates. You can see it's telling us there that the last check was very recent, so we don't need to do it. If we click on available plugins, you'll see all of the ones that are available. Okay, so these are available, they're not installed, they're just available. So you can decide which ones of these that you actually want to install. And there will be a few there that I will want, but as I don't have PHP and I don't have Java running, it's no good. You can see what has been installed, okay, and you'll notice that some of them are not activated. Okay, so Java SE, for example, is not activated. PHP has been activated, but Java FX2 hasn't, Java Web, and that type of thing. So you can actually activate them individually here as well. So you've got three ways of actually activating the features. Now here it just gives you the outline. If we click on show detail, it'll actually show you what is installed on your system and exactly which ones have been activated and which ones haven't. Okay, so you can go down and individually activate them by, for example, clicking on the item and then clicking on activate if it needs to be activated. Okay, so let me see if I can find one which is a good one. So if I click on Java SE modular projects, I can then activate it manually. If I come out of show details, and I can do the same thing, Java SE, and then activate it. It'll actually tell you all the plugins that it's going to activate as well here. Okay, so that's it installed. Now, what's actually new on NetBeans 11.3? Well, if you don't need Java 13 or Java 14, then there's probably no reason to actually install NetBeans 11.3. Keep with 11 LTS long-term support, because that's with Java 12. But if you need the features of Java 13 and Java 14, then yes, you'll need to install it. So, as you heard, yes, the Java editor supports JDK 14 for support things like records and reformatting and pattern matching, and it allows you to create a standalone Java file and that type of thing. It has a number of other features. In Gradle there's a Better Tools API. Again, I can't actually show you these because they're not installed and activated on this system. I can only tell you about them. It's added support for a custom Gradle home and composite projects as well. It recognizes Kotlin-based Gradle projects, and you can forcibly reload a Gradle project if you need to. There have been a number of other upgrades, improvements and bug fixes to the Gradle platform. In Maven, you can decide which JDK you want to use as the default for Maven, so whether you want to use 11, 12, 13 or 8 or 8 if you want, it doesn't really matter. You can actually choose which one you want to use. Let me have a look. Anything else on there? Yes, okay, the front end has actually been changed. Ooh, I can show you this. So if we come down to options, one of the things that they've done is in appearance, okay, you can actually change the preferred look and feel, and they've added dark nimbus, dark metal at the bottom, and they've also added flat laugh and dark laugh, sorry, flat laugh light and flat laugh dark as well. Now, I'm not a great user of these, but we'll just apply that, and we'll have to restart the appearance, hopefully. Yes, right, it's actually going through, and it's this will take a moment. So you've got some new themes that you can look at as well. One of the things they have fixed, which is really good, is that they've actually fixed the Chrome connector so that you can edit in Chrome. And here we go, what went wrong there? A few times, I'm getting this a few times, so I'm going to have to report that. This null pointer exception, this isn't the first time it's happened. Okay, so we'll need to do a restart, so we'll just exit that. And you can see it's actually a lot quicker because there's very few modules actually installed. So while that's restarting, anyhow, I was talking about the Chrome connector, which is really good, so you can actually connect it to Chrome. I have noticed there's a bit of a glitch in that the first time you open it, it'll sometimes come up and say it cannot activate the connector. So all you do is press F6. Well, you clear the message first and then press F6 on the keyboard again, and Bob's your uncle, it's working fully. So there's obviously some reason. Now, I must admit I've been using it with Chromium and not Chrome, so it could be to do with Chromium. Now I haven't tried it with Chrome, I must admit. Okay, so right, okay, usage statistics, you can send it. I'm going to say I agree because it's a good idea. So we'll come back to tools and we'll go back to options and we'll try appearance again. Look and feel. Let's try that. Apply. Let's see if that works this time. Is it doing anything? Let's click OK. Restart. Okay, good. So first time round there was an error. So we'll need to we'll have to wait for it to finish doing that. So it restart. So the first time round there is an error. I've been getting that error a few times on Linux. I haven't tried it on Windows. I must try it on Windows. And I have been getting it a few times on Linux. So I'm going to have to file a report on that one, I think, or check to see why it's happening. It's taking a bit longer this time as it's changed the theme. And as you can see, you've now got Flat Laugh Dark theme, and there's no. Okay, so you've got the start page. You can kill the start page up here. Say, I'm not a great believer in the dark themes, I must admit. I know some people love them. I find them a little bit difficult to read. I would much prefer white on dark blue, which is the very old DOS system, but I find that better to read. So I'm going to go back and put on the Nimbus theme. When it comes up, here we go, look and feel, and I shall put the Nimbus theme on because that's the one I prefer. So apply that, click on OK. Have we got an error? No, it's wanting to do a restart, so we'll do that. So what else have we got? As I said, we've got the connector there. Ah yes, in PHP there's it will automatically put the $this when you put in a private property or a method. It would automatically do that if you've declared the variable already. So it will do that, which is really quite useful because even after all these years, I still forget to do it. And I must admit, it is a large number of years, and I do still forget to do this occasionally. So that will help tremendously. There aren't that many changes. As I say, the changes, if you're a PHP, are quite good in the fact that you've got the Chrome connector. HTML, PHP, you've got the Chrome connector, and the fact that you've actually got this automatically, it'll automatically put $this into the code if you forget it for a private variable, whether it's a static or a public, or a static property or a private property. It will do that automatically for you. That's about it. I'll just check to make sure I haven't forgotten anything else. They're quite actually. Oh yes. Okay. There's a couple of things that I've missed. There's better support for high DPI. Let's have a look. There are certain changes to the editor features for YAML and XML, so you can configure indentation for YAML and XML, and they've corrected the compiler warnings in Bootstrap, which is good because that used to annoy me. I've got OCD and that did annoy me. They've updated to Groovy 2.59. They've updated the JUnit to 5.5.2. They've updated FTP client Java, so with compatibility with IIS, and there's a few other small changes. So there's support for loading of SVG icons for scalable rendering on high DPI displays. There was one other thing, I've missed it somewhere. I know that there's one other thing that they've added. Ah yes, language server protocol. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. So there's a simple user interface to register new languages using TextMate grammars. Yes. And that again can be found in Tools, Options, and If you come into editor, you'll notice it's now on 2 lines instead of 1 line, the tabs that is, and then at the back you can actually register new language servers in there as well. Okay, I think that just about covers it. I hope you found it useful, and it's whether or not it's for you depends on whether you need the features of JDK 13 or JDK 14. My name's John. If you've got any comments, like to ask any questions, please leave them in the notes below. Make a comment below. That would be very useful. And we'll see you next time.